So let's talk about Trinity Temple. This is a church that's been around for quite some time. It had been serving the community in Kansas City for many, many decades, but we rebranded them recently. The pastor had been there for a long time. He was a hero of the faith, but then after many decades of service, he passed away. And then the church reached out to a new leader, a younger leader, to come in, and his name was Pastor Benjamin Stevens. So Pastor Stevens came in and started to lead the church in a new direction. What he found was that it was kind of a struggle because he wanted to implement some new, fresh ideas, but the congregation had been doing things in a certain way for quite some time. So he reached out to Church Brand Guide to help him create a new brand, a new identity that would help take the church forward by creating a consistent experience from the online to the in person. So, online, they were not doing very well. They were struggling, the church was struggling to reach people online. They were struggling really to reach new families. There hadn't been a lot of new families coming to the church for many years, over a decade. So the same people had been part of the church for quite some time, and there just wasn't momentum in the church moving forward. So Bishop Stevens, he became Bishop Stevens eventually. He wanted to start off by let's create a brand. Let's have a plan in place that we are working towards, and that's where we came in. So they reached out to us after finding out about Church Brand Guide from some other churches in the area that had had some great results. These were churches that are very similar, like in the same fellowship or the same denomination. And so then they reached out to Church Brand Guide to kind of learn more about who we are, what we do, and realize that, oh, yeah, we could really help them. Bishop Stevens basically just reached out to us, and we really connected and felt like we could help Trinity get to that vision that Bishop Stevens had. So with that, we created a brand. One of the first things that we realized when working with the team, the Trinity team, was that there wasn't a strategy in place for reaching new families in the community and inviting them to come to the church. So we wanted to re engineer a culture as best as we could to where it was an inviting culture, a culture that people that were not part of Trinity, where they felt like they could belong, like they could come and be a part of this church, that it was inviting and it was a place where they could feel welcomed. So we had to do some things that were very intentional. That's where branding comes in. That's where the tool of branding really helps churches to be intentional about what they're trying to accomplish. So one of the first things we do is we take a look at the audience, like who are we really good at reaching. And so for Pastor Stevens, he wanted to reach young families, parents with kids that were younger. They were professionals in the area. Of course, spiritually, everybody's welcome, young and old. It didn't matter. But from a marketing standpoint, from a branding standpoint, we wanted to reach out to the young families in the community and make sure they understood and knew that there's this great church called Trinity that was in their community and wanted them to be a part of it. So we created that, starting with a logo design. There's a fresh logo that we created. The older logo looked older, it looked dated. It had been around for quite some time. It represented the church really well, but didn't really connect with the audience very well. So the original logo was probably designed in the 80s or 90s, quite a while ago. That's when people just understood that they should go to church. That church was a place you just kind of you go to church. But in our culture today, church is not normal. It's not something that people understand the value of. So we wanted to create a brand that still pointed to uh, the gospel, to Jesus, but had a modern feel to it. So the logo concept we came up with, it has a cross in it, and but it's modern, like it's a modern feel. So the design is that basically these lines are coming down from the upper right. They're coming down, representing God and His presence and Jesus and everything He's done for us. and then there's these lines coming up from the lower left, and they form a cross. The lines coming up basically represent people, humanity, and how we get to rise. These are imperfect lines that are rising up, and they we get to rise up to, the image and the vision that God has of us. So that's the story of the Trinity Temple brand, that they want to help uh, people just begin to realize that who are they? Who did God create them to be? And then step into that. So that's represented in the logo. We also created a website with the logo. We used a color scheme, fonts, different things like that, and then created a website experience that was designed to serve as the front door to where new families in the city could find Trinity online, and then from there get the information they need to then make a visit. And once they visited the church, we just felt, man, they're going to love it. They're going to really like it. We also created a lot of signage on the property, signage for the parking lot, the lobby. What we're trying to do is kind of present the church as visually, so that people are actually walking through a sermon for the most part as people come in person. So what they see online on the website is in alignment with what they experience in person, and also what they hear from the stage. So we coined some phrases and put some definitions and some things out there, and had great photos. Photography is a big part of this. Great photos of the people in the church. That way, as you're checking out the church online, you can see what the environment looks like. And hopefully the idea is that you can see yourself, or you and your family, being a part of the church. So we were able to right away get some great results. The church, which had been 400, 500 people in its heyday, they had a beautiful facility, great property. They were in decline for well over a decade. With the previous pastor, again, a hero of the faith, had done such a great job, but just in those latter years, there was not a fresh momentum, and so the church was in decline. So it actually shrunk down to just over 200 people, so less than half of what it was. That's when Pastor Ben Stevens came in, and he saw the potential. The church building was plenty big enough to grow and had great facilities to step into. And he came in, and with this fresh energy and vision, he reached out to Church Brand Guide. We helped him create the visual identity behind it. We consulted with him from a marketing perspective, and then implemented a lot of things online and also in person, in print, to help redesign the environments and help him really create that momentum towards reaching young families. After the rebranding process, we saw an increase within the first year of attendance. And this was actually after the pandemic. The pandemic had happened. This was probably a year after the pandemic, when everything had been shut down. The churches were declining. Pastor Stevens knew he had to do something, so we started with him after the pandemic, and within a year, the numbers were way up. People were coming to the church. They were getting engaged. New families were coming. We saw over a double the attendance than what they had previously, even before the pandemic, and we just got to see a great deal of momentum that continues to this day. So we get to be a part of that. In fact, after we finish the branding process, usually that takes about 30 to 60 days to rebrand the church from top to bottom. After that process, though, Pastor Stevens reached back out to us and said, hey, can you just keep working with us? Can you just be an extension of our team to help us continue to win in our marketing and our branding? So we said, yes, it was a good fit for us, and we just have been working with them ever since. So we create all sorts of graphics and promotions for events throughout the year for the church, and it's just a wonderful thing that we get to experience as we continue to work in relationship and in partnership with Pastor Stevens. It's Bishop Stevens now, and Trinity Temple. We get to see some great things happening there. So it's been a wonderful experience for us, and to see the results. Double the attendance. Giving is up. People are joining groups. We started doing small groups. the idea behind groups is that we want to close the back door to where people don't just disappear, right? We don't lose track of them, and then they just go, and we don't know what happened. So if we have groups, then there's more relationships that are happening. The church becomes more sticky, and that's what we wanted. So we were able to promote groups and get people serving on teams, and also just create a great culture where people had invites. It was an invite culture where you're inviting your neighbors and your friends and your coworkers, and things look nice online to where people are like, oh, we should go check that place out. So just creating a great brand that was cohesive, both in person and online. So when people saw us online, they were able to experience that same experience in person. And we implement a lot of different marketing tools and tactics, T-shirt designs and big banners and signage, big Easter campaigns and Christmas campaigns to promote the event to the community. So it's been a wonderful experience, and we're expanding the brand and seeing the results that are coming from that. Well, hey, thank you for joining me on this case study of the Trinity Temple brand. Hopefully, this is helpful to you. Our passion is to help churches to reach more people so that they can see more lives transformed. We get to communicate in a way where people we can cut through the noise and really reach people where they are. And we want to inspire you with these case studies to show you what is possible. So thanks for joining me on this one, and we'll see you on the next